Joachim Grube's early life was lived between the hammer and the anvil of Nazi Germany. As a young man, he became a refugee, a status that would influence his sensibilities for a lifetime. His life was to become decidedly better when he met Portlander Liz Rauschening in 1955 in Germany when she was visiting family there. They married 2 years later while still in Germany.
I never have thought of having a house with a picket fence or anything like that.
After moving back to the States, their daughter Louise came along a year later. In 1961, they were blessed with a son, Ed, and there was never going to be a picket fence. With architectural school behind him, Joachim joined the firm of Skidmore, Owens and Merrill.
He had only a very small studio, and so he would, on weekends, bring a table in from the deck, and he'd be working on his woodcuts, and there'd be music on. Certain pieces that when I hear them, it always brings me back to that time.
And in addition to classical music, Joachim loves the Beatles.
As a student, Joachim had met Gerhard Biermann, another German architect who had designed structures in Mozambique. His friend had become the director of UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, and in 1961, Joachim received a call from Biermann asking him to go to Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, to build an educational facility. He and Liz had 24 hours to decide. They said yes. The entire Grube family went to post-colonial Sudan to design and build educational facilities in the cities, the wilds of the savannas, and in the jungles and deserts of that country.
I believe in October of 1961, we went to Africa. So I was about 6 months old.
I was 3 years old when we went to the Sudan, and 6.5 when we came back.
It was the spark of a lifelong fascination with creating architecture in the developing world. It was the beginning of Joachim's entry into the universe of third world architecture that would eventually include not just Sudan, but also Nigeria, Angola, and Kazakhstan. Joachim and Liz and their children spent 4 years living in Sudan.
It started really with the idea of collaborating with Sudanese architects. For the Sudanese, this type of collaboration was totally new.
He really created the relationship with the people, and some of those relationships stayed with him till now. After work is gone and he retired, people still call him and talk to him, and I was the engineer for every project that he worked on. He is probably the nicest man I have ever met, and I say this really without reservations. He just radiates sincerity.
His primary goal was that he always told me and Louise is make sure you do what you love to do and enjoy doing, and you'll be good at it.
By 1965, the Grube's 4th year in Sudan, they decided to bring their children home for an American education. Joachim became a partner in the architectural firm that still bears his name today, Jost Grube Hall. During this intense period of stateside work, Joachim participated in 56 projects in 26 states.
I was involved in Portland State Science Building, and I managed the nationwide building program for Volkswagen of America.
Returning to Portland, Joachim's firm was contacted by another longtime friend, fellow architect Pietro Beluschi. Pietro had been awarded a consignment from the World Bank to create structures in Joachim's favorite creative environment, the Third World.
My father was a mentor, not only to me, but to him as well. He's a very humanistic and very wonderful soul. People that know him appreciate how wonderful he is. They did a lot of projects late in my father's life. I think one of the major ones was the chapel at the University of Portland. They both did an extremely wonderful job, and they worked with Leroy Setzel, the sculptor.
During the 70s and the 80s, he would be in town for maybe 4 weeks, and then he'd be overseas again for another 4 weeks, and it was just back and forth.
Joachim is probably the nicest person I've ever met, but he was the ultimate diplomat. The one I worked with Joachim on was an office building in Khartoum. We designed an agricultural experiment station in Darfur. Yeah, they loaded up a truck. They had lots of water, lots of fuel, and a goat. And we left town, and all of a sudden there was no road. They just followed the tracks out through the sand. And sure enough, they used everything, including the goat, for dinner.
I met Joachim in 1993 when I joined Joachim Grube Hall. And we practiced together on numerous projects, both domestically and internationally. I've worked with Joachim on projects in Kazakhstan, Nigeria, Botswana, and Angola, to name a few. Joachim and I went to Kazakhstan to do our kickoff meeting for Chevron corporate headquarters. For the next 2 weeks, we worked and worked and worked. We ate yak and scorpions, but I'm very grateful for that world experience. Joachim's an amazing man.
Joachim was obviously interested in international work, and some of the work that he was doing was also done to the international program at Washington State University. The major one was one that was the master plan of a new university in Afghanistan that we joint ventured.
And of course, there was always the place where the Grube's Third World encounters got started.
This particular project that he was involved with was called the Western Sudan Agricultural Research Project. It reflects, I think, Joachim's appreciation of and interest in working together with people.
And the rest of his accomplishments? Far too many to tell about each and every one. Suffice it to say, they are legion. The Architecture Foundation of Oregon is delighted to celebrate our 2019 honored citizen, Joachim Grube. Oh, and happy 87th birthday, Joachim.
Joachim, this is great, well-deserved, and I wish you best health and long life.
I believe his legacy will be one of having the notoriety of truly collaborating with other people and organizations.
You know, he has a lot of compassion for a lot of different kinds of people and their situations.
He's smart. He is vigorous. He has good communication skills.
He was a mentor to me, of which I'm grateful. And as a teacher that affects eternity, we will never know where Joachim's influence will stop. But I would be remiss if I didn't also say that Joachim's utmost #1 collaborator and companion is his wife, Liz.
Well, Liz is a very charming person in her own right.
I thought of an old coach's maxim, said, nice guys finish last. Joachim's just the opposite. He's on top, he finishes first. Congratulations, Joachim.
If you were ever fortunate enough to be Joachim's friend, you will never forget it.